As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 71 of Zero to Hero. We've got another one of these multifaceted guests that are coming at you. I don't know how we keep getting so lucky with having these amazing people that wear so many hats, but our guest today's name is Jess Winns. She is the owner and operator of Ari Rose, Winns Media, and the author of Beneath the Skin. So let's go ahead and bring her in. Jess, how are you today?
Good morning, Gino. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm excited to have you on today. So obviously, like I mentioned, you are a woman that wears many, many hats, right? So talk a little bit about everything that you've got going on with Ari Rose Winns Media, and then tell us a little bit about the book as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Jess of all trades, right?
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
I started Ari Rose about 7 years ago. That's when we officially launched the company. So that's kind of been my bread and butter for the last 7 years of my life. In addition to being a mom of 3 girls. And so, doing this e-commerce world, product and manufacturing, I kind of got to be behind the scenes more than out in the public, and unless I was vending at events or something like that. So anyways, I was doing that, and after some time I said, you know what, I think it's time to branch out and get out there a bit and not just be, people used to call me the soap lady and back in Chicago. And I didn't want to be the soap lady. I knew there was more to me than that, right? So that's kind of when I really decided to explore myself more than just this products and items. There's more depth to me. So yeah, so then that's when I really branched out and started doing a number of different things, but eventually decided on publishing my first book, Beneath the Skin. So I know we talked about that a little bit briefly. And so Beneath the Skin was actually recently published at the beginning of this year. And I decided to move forward with that publishing in August of last year. So it hasn't even been a year since I made the decision to move forward with that. So it's been quite a journey.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and I can imagine your 3 girls love that you have a beauty line, right? Because it is more than soap at this point, right? There's some creams,
Yes.
There's some lotions, there's definitely quite a few things that you can
It's
get
a whole
from
line.
Ari Rose. So I can imagine, if my parents were like into sports as a boy, I would have been loving it, right? You've got all this stuff. So how do your girls love it? Are they using everything? Are they're reviewing it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they appreciate it more now as they've gotten older. My oldest will be 18 this summer.
Wow.
My middle one is 10 and the youngest is 4. So the older 2 have a much greater appreciation than they did when they were young. It was just like, this is what we're doing. But now they see how their friends respond to it, or they can Google me and see what's going on, and get a better idea of like what this actually means to have a family-owned business. And they work in it as well. They've been brought up in it. And so I've always said Ari Rose is a vehicle for my girls to understand what it means to have a passion, have a talent, a skill, utilize that, and be able to create a business out of it so that you can support yourself and your family. And I think that that's extremely important for youth to know, because I had no clue growing up that was even possible for me. So I think that it's extremely important for the youth to understand that, regardless of whatever direction they choose in life.
Yeah, no, that's so powerful because I feel like we come from a generation that was you go to college and then you get a job and that's like the route, right? Like that's the only way that you can be successful is by going to school and getting the degree and then going out and working for somebody else and making somebody else's dreams come true. So I love that you're teaching your girls, hey, there's other ways to do this, right? Like life is not so cut and dry and straightforward. So I love that. Now, talk a
Absolutely.
little bit about the Beneath the Skin. What can people expect when they go to pick that up? What is it about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually wrote this book, I want to say in 2015. So about almost 8 years ago now.
Wow.
So I was living in Costa Rica with my two oldest daughters. The little one hadn't made it here yet. And up until that point, I mean, life was just kind of like I had always said I've lived multiple lifetimes in such a short period of time. And when I was in Costa Rica, that was a dream of mine to be able to go and live abroad.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to be a travel blogger. That was what I wanted to do. You'll have to excuse me. I just got over being sick.
Oh no.
So we're in Costa Rica and I'm there. I'm alone with them. Their dad was in another country working actually in the Middle East. And I just one night got this download of information, and it was like all of the things that I had gone through in my life, all of the lessons, all of the journey just came together in that moment, and it all started to make sense. And there seemed to be like this formula, this clear understanding of like why we go through what we go through, and then how we can alchemize that, the pain, the challenges, the struggles, and transmute it into something beautiful. We are co-creating our lives. So it's like, how do we take that, what we perceive as the negative and our victim story and our struggles, and make something beautiful while we're here, right? And so I'm getting all these downloads and I'm just writing it up in my phone, and then I would put it away and like something more would come and I'd pick it up again. So I started writing the book there. And when I came back, I had like a couple of people read it, my mom and another one of my friends. And I don't even think they really read that much. They were just kind of like, oh, okay, here you're doing something else again. I was
Yeah.
always been a creator. And so I think I took that to heart a bit, and I just tucked it away and I didn't bother with it for a while. And I thought about publishing in different years prior, but eventually I moved around and was just in the thick of Ari Rose and raising my kids. And then last year, I really just, I had a meditation, and this vision came to me and basically was like, it's time. Now is the time. So I moved forward with with publishing and finishing the completion of writing Beneath the Skin. And Beneath the Skin is truly, if you think about Ari Rose and how most of my adult life for the last 7 years has been about the surface. It's been about, skincare and body care. And sure, I've always said body care is holistic. That's truly how I view life and health and wellness. But Beneath the Skin is going even deeper into the depths of our souls and what we've experienced in life. And like I said, being able to take that and make something beautiful out of it.
I love that. I love that. I was just talking to a friend the other day, and he was kind of getting down on himself. And I mentioned this in another episode as well, but it's, he's looking at the failures, and he's like, man, like I can't do anything right. And it's like, hey, man, like, this is what's teaching you, right? Like
Yes.
the failures are half the lessons you're supposed to learn, if not more, are going to come from failure, right? So it's more just take
Absolutely.
that step back, open your eyes, right, and realize that you're receiving all of these lessons. And it sounds like you've taken those and put them into paper, which is fantastic. And it kind of leads into our first question of the show, which is going to be kind of counterintuitive, right? But putting aside Ari Rose, putting aside Winns Media, putting aside the book, which kind of about you, right? In your
Mhm.
experiences and how you've overcome those. But putting those aside and really just talking about Jess Winns, who are you? Oh, I think we might have lost connection there. Can you hear me? Good old industrious internet. You still with me, Jess? Oh, we lost her. Hopefully we'll get her back in here so we can figure out who Jess Winns is. But I love that. It's such a good story that she's sharing about really, taking all those downloads, right, and all those things that we go through, and really looking at what the meaning of those things are. So hopefully we can get her back in here so she can keep talking about that stuff. All right, we'll give Jess a couple more minutes here, see if we can get her back into the broadcast. Otherwise, we might have to bring her back another day. I'm not sure what's going on with the internet. Oh, we got her. Oh, I think you're muted there, Jess. Go ahead and try to
There you
unmute for
go.
me.
Sorry
Hey,
about
we're
that.
back. No, all good, all
Yes,
good.
yes.
Hey,
Okay.
that's the hazards of doing a live show, right? Is we got to
Oh
rely on
yeah.
the technology. So,
I was like,
so I think
okay.
where we were, so kind of putting everything aside, right? All the
Yes.
businesses. Who is Jess Winns? Give us the elevator pitch
Yes.
about you.
Yeah, I mean, it's me is Jess Wins is a mom, is a woman that has, experienced a lot in life. Um and so, a huge part of my identity is my children, having become a mom so young. And I'm a creator. I'm someone that loves entrepreneurship, loves freedom, loves the ability to be able to take what I am passionate about and learning and growing and constantly evolving. I just had this other revelation in the middle of the night, how when we are suffering, it's because something within us is dying, because we're
Mm,
growing and we're evolving into something new and different, right? And so a lot of times we think of suffering as this pain and something that we avoid, but it's growth, right? Just kind of what you were speaking to with your friend and his failures, or what he's perceiving as his failures,
right.
right? So this is just like, this is me. This is just the constant growth and evolution and desire to learn more about this life and why we're here. And that's what I how I kind of just go about my existence here while I'm here in this earth plane.
I love that. That's so strong. I mean, and one of the things that I try to live my life by is being 1% better every day, right? And it sounds like you kind of share that sentiment as well. But the analogy of something, something dying so something else can grow is so true. I mean, if you just kind of look outside, right? Flowers, in order to grow a new flower, it has to die, right? The seeds have to come out, right? Go back into the ground. Obviously, there's some that just sprout every year, but that flower's got to go, right? I
Right.
mean, in order for something new to come, something's got
Mhm.
to make way for it. And that's so
Absolutely.
strong to relate that back to the person, right? Because
Mhm.
you don't typically think about pieces of yourself dying, right, as something else grows, but it's so true. That's so
Oh,
good.
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to get in a little bit of the social media journey that you've had. So obviously you started a business from scratch, right? You started another business to help that business, right? And then we've got the book on top of that. So talk a little bit about what it's been like, starting a social media journey or starting social media from zero to where you're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. So social media I mean, my gosh, like Facebook was the first thing that I utilized, right? Back in the day. Instagram wasn't even a thing when I started
Yeah.
Ari Rose, right? So I basically have been using social media since the beginning. And at first I used Facebook to share my journey of health and wellness, and that was kind of how I began to gain somewhat of a following of individuals who are like, what is she doing? Like, she's in her 20s, early 20s, talking about, eating healthy and working out while we're out here partying and drinking and having fun, living life, right? And so, but it piqued people's interests, and that's when when I did decide to move forward with Ari Rose and these products that I was creating, it was like immediate that people began wanting to support and purchase the products. So I feel like social media has been this it's been along for the ride. It's been the catalyst for how I've been able to grow a brand and to gain a following. I didn't even talk about how after I graduated college, I'd actually started a nonprofit organization for inner city teens to travel abroad, and that was my first real and true
Wow.
understanding of how I can utilize social media and create a brand, even if it was for a nonprofit, even if it was just for me as the founder and executive director. Like, I can create this image and this entity that people can want to follow and be a part of. And that was just fascinating to me. So that's one of my favorite parts of business, is that you create it. You are the brand, or you create the brand,
Yeah.
and it's all you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think personal branding has become a little bit more focused, really kind of since COVID, right, started and ended. People, I feel like, have realized that the personal brand really matters, because I think for a while that's all people really had, right? People
Mhm.
weren't going out and doing the business as much. But you were way ahead of that train and kind of realizing, hey, I can build a personal following and then the business can kind of benefit from that personal branding. So that's so strong. It's so powerful. Now, Jess, every superhero has a defining moment. What do you think yours is when it comes to life and career?
Yeah, absolutely. So my defining moment was absolutely when I got pregnant at the age of 19. And when that happened, I really realized how quick society will be to write you off. Their
Yep.
perceptions of who you are and what you're capable of creating in this world, based off of your situation and your circumstances. And I was in college at the time, so for me, in my head, I said, I'm gonna have the baby and I'm gonna graduate. This isn't gonna be a problem. So that was like a big moment where I had to rise above what others were putting on to me and the beliefs that others had about me. And so um in addition to the fact that things were not the ideal circumstances of having a child that young. My life didn't look like how I probably would have wanted it to bring a baby into the world. But instead of getting caught up in my victim story and in my victimhood of like, woe is me, it was more along the lines of, okay, I created this situation. I am 100% responsible for my life. That means that I have the power and the capability to choose something different from here moving forward for me and my daughter. And that was a truly defining moment because I was not going to let anyone define me by my circumstances. And from that moment forward, I mean, I went from one thing to the next to the next, and no one's been able to stop me.
I love it. I love that so much. Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, yeah. So what? You had a kid at 19, right? That's not when life ends, right? And obviously, very clearly for you, that's kind of where it took off, right? And
Mhm.
kind of a driving force. And I love that so much because I feel like you're 100% right. Like, even with teenagers in high school that have kids, it's like people will write them off. You're like, oh, you're gonna finish school, like, oh, good for you. It's like, why? There's other things, there's other resources out there, and there's so much now that make a choice, right? Are you gonna let it destroy you, or are you gonna let it propel like you did, which is so strong? And I think that's a great defining moment, Jess. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. What are the attributes that you feel define a hero, right? So obviously all heroes have attributes, some different than others, right? Superman's got different attributes than Batman, right? But what are the, 2 or 3 attributes that you really feel define what a hero is?
Yeah, so when I think about a hero, right, I think about you have the hero and you have the villain. And the hero and the villain actually have a similar background oftentimes in the
Yeah.
story, right? They've both encountered adversity in their lives. Sometimes they're both orphaned or they've had certain challenges and struggles.
Yeah.
And one chooses to be the hero and the other chooses to be the villain. And one creates beauty and inspiration and motivation in the world, as the hero inspires others and supports others, and then the villain creates destruction. And I think we all have that capacity, right? Like that's all in us. So it's the attribute that makes you the hero is the choice, the power of the choice that you make to take what you have gone through and your struggles and your challenges and harness that and use it as a power, as your superpower to create beauty in the world, to support others. I mean, heroes save people, right? But it's like in the context of humanity, we have the ability to inspire and motivate by creating something or offering a service or just being of service to others. And so that's what I believe makes the hero. It's the choices and the ability for us to transmute and the resiliency and the harnessing of those challenges and that negativity into creating something beautiful.
That's so true. I mean, it's so good. There's so many stories out there that go along with exactly what you said, right? I mean, Star Wars, right? I mean, he goes from good to evil. Megamind comes to mind, where they actually kind of go through that choice. I don't know if you've seen that one. If you haven't, it's hilarious. But
I
they
got
kind
it.
of go through that choice right at the beginning, right?
Mhm,
Where it's like they're very similar circumstances, right? They're both put in the same school, and one goes one way and one goes the other. So that's so
mhm,
beautiful. It is all about the choice, right? Superman switches or turns to go the other way and he creates a lot of destruction, right? So good
mhm.
point, Jess. Good point. Now, if you had to pick, and this is the last question I got for you, if you had to pick a superhero that relates best to Jess Winns, who would that be? And give us a couple reasons why.
Yeah, so I thought about this one. And it's funny because there's so many like awesome superheroes and both male and female. And so, but it was no coincidence that the other night I was watching The Incredibles with my daughters. And the Elastigirl is the mom. And I'm watching, and it's not the first time I've seen this movie, but for some reason it hit me this time where I'm watching her, and I just really connected with her as a superhero, because she wasn't just out here saving the world and fighting off bad guys. She was a mom. She was a mom that was raising superheroes, right? A mom and a wife that is supporting her husband as a superhero. She's a superhero. She's taking on all these challenges and fighting the good fight. And then she's also raising these young mini children superheroes that are developing their powers, that are going to grow up one day and be in the world and fighting the good fight. And I just really saw myself in that moment as her, not just because she's a mom, but the way that she was able to connect with her children, and the intentionality behind her parenting. And then this whole idea of, like, as parents, we want to instill the greatness that all the wonderful things inside of our children, so that they can grow up and become the best possible versions of themselves, and contributors to society. So that would be my pick.
It sounds like you 100% nailed that. A superhero raising superheroes. So I 100%, Jess, I'm on board with you. I think you've got a lot of similarities there to Elastigirl. So you are awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sticking, through getting over being, having a cold and dealing with our tech issues. You are a fantastic guest. So I thank you so much. How can people keep up with you? How can they get in touch with you? How can they follow what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I could be found on Instagram at the Jess Winns, LinkedIn as well, Jess Winns. And then Ari Rose Body Care is on both Instagram and Facebook, Ari Rose Body Care. So any which way, it's me. I'm there, and anyone can connect. I'm here.
Absolutely. And check out some of those products. They're absolutely gorgeous. And they work amazing, obviously. So get out there and pick some of that stuff up. Again, Jess, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everybody out there watching, have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, are we still live? Hey guys, we're still live. Hey guys, this is Kevin Kwok, founder of J29 Creative Group. So who are we? We're a marketing agency here in Kansas City. We're all about a holistic approach to marketing that builds your brand and nurtures online community. But to be honest with you, you guys don't care.